frost came slow at first. It started in whispers, a thin sheen on the leaves where the sun should have burned them dry. The scientists, back when we still had scientists, called it an anomaly, a seasonal hiccup. But seasons don't hiccup forever. Now it's not a whisper, it's a grip, a slow, white hand crawling down the map, tightening around everything we used to call home. Frost at the equator, ice blooming where jungles once stood. I don't know what the world looks like from space anymore, nobody does, but I can tell you what it feels like down here. The air has gone brittle. You breathe, and it cuts. You walk, and the ground groans under a crust that shouldn't be there. The earth looks foreign, a stranger wearing the skin of something you used to know. The cities died differently, each in their own way. Some fell quiet under the snow, the windows icing over, their towers sagging under the weight of frozen rain. Others burned before the frost reached them, chaos lighting up the night sky as the last fuel, the last pantries, the last scraps of order were fought over. Now, when you pass what used to be a city, you see the husks, concrete, brittle with cold, rebar gnawed open like broken bones, cars abandoned in frozen rivers of traffic that never moved again. I used to know landmarks, roads, rivers, fields. They don't mean anything now. The rivers are coffins of ice, silent and black under the crust. The roads are shattered by frost heaves, cracking open like old wounds. Even the forests look wrong, skeletal things, frozen, trunks split by their own sap, trees cracking like gunshots in the night. If you close your eyes, the sound can fool you into thinking people are still fighting out there. But it's just the wood breaking under the cold. The governments are gone, at least the ones that mattered. Maybe there's still someone clinging to the idea of a flag or a border, but paper doesn't keep you warm, and flags don't put food in your stomach. What's left are fragments, pockets of survivors, gangs, militias calling themselves guardians or rangers, as if names still mean anything. Some are just hungry people banded together. Others, you don't want to meet them if you're alone. Cold makes people desperate. Desperation makes people cruel. Scavengers run the bones of the world now. They pick through old supermarkets, through frozen ships stranded in harbors that iced over faster than anyone expected. Some hunt the thorless beasts that still stumble around, elk and bison that wandered too far south and found themselves trapped in the wrong climate. Meat doesn't last long in the frost. It burns quick when you're hungry, but it's worth more than gold. The airwaves are empty mostly, static and silence. Some nights, you catch a fragment, an SOS, a hymn sung by voices you'll never see, a broken loop of a weather report nobody updates anymore. Once, I caught a voice reading bedtime stories into the night. That one haunted me for weeks. Whoever it was, they're probably gone now. Maybe frozen, maybe found. Doesn't matter. All I know is, every broadcast feels like a ghost brushing past. And then there's the frost itself. It doesn't just freeze, it kills. Crops are gone. Cornfields brittle. Rice paddies solid sheets of ice. Wheat bending under frost until it collapses. The equator used to be the world's furnace, a belt of heat that never let go. Now it's whitewashed, smothered, buried under, cold that never belonged there. The balance broke, and the earth turned on us. Or maybe we turned on it first. Doesn't matter anymore. People say they've seen oceans freeze in the middle of the tropics. Cargo ships locked in ice, their crews dead inside, frost creeping across the portholes like a curtain closing. Once, the oceans were rising, drowning, coasts, shoving people inland. Now they're sealing up, swallowing whole cities in ice. What's worse, you can't drink it. Salt doesn't leave just because the water froze. Fresh water is scarcer than hope, and harder to hold on to. The nights are the worst. Temperatures drop so low that metal screams. Whole buildings collapse from frostbite, steel and concrete shattering like glass. You can hear it echo across the empty streets. No warning. Just a groan, a pop, and the sound of another piece of the old world falling away. Civilization doesn't look like it used to. It's not walls and governments anymore. It's fires in barrels. It's scavenged tarps, lashed against the wind. It's voices huddled together just to remember what warmth felt like. It's children who've never seen rain, never felt grass that wasn't frozen brittle under their hands. I wish I could tell you what's coming next, but the truth is, the frost keeps moving, creeping lower, biting deeper. Every day, the line shifts. Every day, the map shrinks. And we, what's left of us, cling to whatever edge we can, hoping the cold doesn't swallow us before morning. So this is the world now. A white scar stretched across the planet's middle, where life used to burn brightest. A world that doesn't look like home anymore. A world we keep trying to recognize, even as it forgets us. And me? I just keep talking into this mic, sending words into the static. Maybe someone's out there. Maybe not. But the frost is here, and it isn't leaving. And you, if you're listening, you already know that. You've been listening long enough to know the world's gone. But maybe you're wondering who the hell I am, why I keep talking into this dead frequency when there's nobody left to answer. Maybe you're wondering if I'm a ghost myself, just another echo in the static. Name's Elias Vey. At least that's the name I still answer to. Once, a long time ago, it meant something. It was on pay stubs, ID cards, birthday cards from my mother. Now it's just a sound I use to remind myself I'm still human, not just another shape wandering through the snow. Before it all broke, I was a voice you might have heard without realizing it. I worked nights in a small station on the Gulf Coast, back when stations still had playlists, weather updates, sponsors. Back when the biggest disaster was a hurricane season running longer than it should have. I remember sitting behind the glass, queuing up songs while the rain hammered on the windows, feeling like I was holding some fragile thread of normalcy for whoever was out driving, listening, trying not to be afraid. Funny thing is, I guess I'm still doing the same job. Just, there's no playlists anymore, no sponsors, no weather reports, unless you count the sound of the frost splitting the roof beams at night. These days, I survive on scraps and silence. The broadcast room is my shelter. Reinforced walls, no windows, a roof that hasn't collapsed yet. I've got a pedal generator hooked up to the old transmitter. Burns my legs raw to keep it spinning, but it gives me just enough power to push my voice into the static. Sometimes I imagine the frost itself listening, crawling closer with every word, just to remind me that nothing gets to outrun it. Food, that's trickier. The vending machines were picked clean years ago. The supermarket down the road is just glass teeth and frozen shelves. I learned to trap rats in the old subway tunnels when they still scurried there, but even they've gone quiet lately. Too cold, even for them. Now I ration what I find. A can of beans, powdered milk, I mix with melted snow. Sometimes jerky that's so old it tastes like chewing rubber bands. My body's smaller now, leaner, sharper. Hunger has a way of carving you down to something raw and simple. Why do I keep going? That's the part I ask myself every night. It isn't comfort. It isn't safety. Those words don't exist anymore. Sometimes I think it's just habit, like breathing. You wake up, you scrape together calories, you fight off the frost, you tell yourself you'll try again tomorrow. But under it all, it's connection. That's what I'm chasing. Not survival, for survival's sake, but the chance that someone, somewhere, hears my voice and knows they're not the last one left. The silence is the real killer out here. More than cold, more than hunger. Silence makes you forget you were ever part of anything. I had people once. A wife, Rachel. A daughter, Maren. God, even saying their names feels like setting glass on the floor. Too fragile, too breakable. They were with me in the early months, when the frost was still a curiosity, when we thought we'd ride it out. We stayed south, thinking heat would protect us, but heat died faster than anyone expected. The nights killed our crops. The cold ate the walls. One morning I woke to find Maren's lips blue in her sleep. She never woke up. Rachel held her for 2 days before she let me take her away. After that, Rachel's eyes never really found mine again. She left with a caravan heading further south, people who swore they'd find warmth near the old Equator. I never saw her again, so now it's me. Just me and the transmitter, the pedals, the static. I talk into the dark, because if I stop, if I let the silence swallow me, then I'm gone too. I've seen others here and there. A group scavenging near the frozen docks, wrapped in rags, eyes hollow as the windows they broke into. They didn't wave, didn't speak, just melted back into the ruins. Once, I ran into a man in the subway tunnels, dragging a sled stacked with frozen bodies. He said they were his family. He said he was keeping them safe until spring came back. I didn't have the heart to tell him spring wasn't coming. I gave him half a can of beans and walked away. That's the world we're left with. Not communities, not governments, just shards of people, broken glass scattered across ice. And me, Elias Vey, still talking like it matters. I'll tell you what I do to survive, aside from the food and the generator. I keep lists, on paper, in old notebooks, lists of names I remember from before. Neighbors, co-workers, DJs from other stations, people who sat across from me at diners, or waved from their porches. I write them down, because memory feels like the last act of defiance I have. If the frost takes everything, it won't take their names. Not while I'm here to speak them. Sometimes I read those names into the microphone. A roll call for ghosts. I imagine someone out there hearing one, recognizing it, crying into their hands because someone else remembered too. Maybe that's naive. Maybe it's just me holding on to scraps, but scraps are all we've got now. Do I still believe in hope? Depends on the day. Some days, hope feels like a cruel trick. A dangling carrot leading me into another frozen street with nothing at the end. Other days, it's the only thing that gets me to turn the generator crank one more time, to whisper into the static one, more night. Hope isn't a promise anymore. It's not even a plan. It's just a flicker, the faint glow from a match you light knowing the wind will snuff it out, but lighting it anyway because you need to see your hands for just 1 second. Longer. The frost creeps, the nights lengthen, the world shrinks, but I'm still here, a voice in the static, a man with nothing left but words, and the stubborn belief that if I keep speaking, someone, somewhere, might answer. So that's who I am. Elias Vey, broadcaster, survivor, ghost. I'm not important, not really, just another body the frost hasn't claimed yet. But if you hear me, if you hear my voice through the static, know this. You're not alone. As long as we're still talking, as long as someone's still listening, then the frost hasn't won. Not yet. The frost wasn't just weather anymore. It was a predator. It crept slow, patient, deliberate, waiting for us to believe we had, adapted before it struck again. That's the thing about this new world. Survival isn't one battle you win and walk away from. It's a siege, a long, grinding war where the enemy is time itself, gnawing at you with hunger, cold and silence, until there's nothing left but bones under ice. Every day, the cold digs deeper. It doesn't just kill the crops, it kills the soil itself. The ground cracks open under the ice, roots shattered, worms frozen mid-crawl, earth that once fed billions now dead as ash. I've seen cornfields that once rolled like golden seas turned into white deserts, stalks brittle as glass. You touch them, and they collapse in your hand, snow falling from a summer plant that never should have known frost. Waters know better. You'd think with all the ice, thirst wouldn't be a problem, but most of it's locked in salt. And when the fresh water does freeze, it traps everything foul inside. Chemicals from factories, sewage from broken cities, oil slicks turned into black veins under the surface. Melt it wrong, drink it too fast, and you're sick for days. The frost doesn't just starve you, it poisons you too. Fuel. God, fuel is gold now. There's no gas stations, no tankers, no pipelines running, just scraps, a half can of diesel, scavenged from a rusting truck, wood from a building torn down and burned. And wood burns fast. It keeps you alive for an hour, maybe two, before you're staring at cold ashes again. I used to save every scrap of cardboard, every broken chair, leg, even the old paper logs from this radio station. I burned the past just to survive the present. I can't decide if that's poetic or pathetic. And then there's the storms. The frost wasn't content with silence. It found its voice. When the fronts move in, the world goes blind. Whiteout. Blizzards scream through streets like banshees, freezing metal solid in minutes. You can't run from them. You can barely breathe in them. Once, I tried moving between buildings when the wind picked up. I nearly froze standing 3 blocks away from safety. My hands went stiff, my lungs filled with knives. I crawled back to the station, half conscious, skin blackening at the tips of my fingers. That was when I learned. Out here, storms don't forgive mistakes. Survival gets harder every day, not because the frost changes, but because we weaken. Our supplies shrink, our bodies thin, our strength wanes. The frost stays patient. It knows, if it doesn't kill you today, it'll kill you tomorrow. And the clock ticks louder each night. But the worst part, it isn't the weather, or the hunger, or the silence. It's the people. I ran into them 2 weeks ago, out by the old overpass. I was scouting for wood. An abandoned gas station had collapsed, and sometimes the splintered beams can be hauled back, dried, burned. I heard them before I saw them. Laughter, real laughter, wild and sharp, cutting through the frozen air. For a second, I thought maybe, just maybe, it was people trying to hold on to joy. I followed the sound. What I found was 4 men crouched around a barrel fire, their faces cracked with cold, their eyes glittering like broken glass. They'd cornered another survivor, a woman, thin as wire, clutching a backpack to her chest. They weren't laughing with her. They were laughing at her. One of them shoved her, trying to pry the pack loose. She screamed, and the sound carried like it always does in the frost. High, brittle, impossible to ignore. I stayed hidden. I wanted to move, wanted to do something, but the truth is, I had nothing to fight with. No gun, no knife worth mentioning. Just my body, already half-starved. If I stepped out, I'd have joined her. And maybe that's cowardice. Maybe it's survival. I watched until it ended. They got her pack. She tried to run. One of them tripped her, and she didn't get back up. After they left, I waited. I don't know why. I couldn't save her. But when I finally stepped out, she was still breathing, faint and shallow. Her lips moved, maybe saying a name. I gave her water, a blanket, what little I had. She died before morning anyway. That's what survival looks like now. Not the triumphs, not the victories. Just a string of losses, each one cutting deeper, each one reminding you how thin the margin really is. I tell myself I'm still alive because I'm cautious, because I know when to hide, because I don't waste what little I find. But sometimes I wonder if I'm just lucky, and luck doesn't last. The crisis isn't just the frost itself, it's the way it reshaped everything we knew. Humanity was built on predictability, seasons, harvests, cycles of rain and sun. The frost shattered that clock. Crops die before they sprout. Animals migrate into death zones they don't understand. Even the oceans don't move like they used to. Currents have frozen, tides slow under the crust. The world has no rhythm anymore, no pulse. And without that pulse, we're just blind men stumbling through silence. The old scientists used to warn about tipping points. They said once the balance tipped, once enough permafrost thawed and enough carbon poured into the air, feedback loops would take over. The Earth wouldn't be something we could bargain with. It would be something that chose its own path. And here we are. The loops closed, the cycles broke, and the frost came where no frost had any right to be. It isn't just winter moving south. It's the planet resetting, dragging the ice caps over the equator like a shroud. Advice? If you're listening, if you're still alive out there, shelter is everything. Don't chase food into open streets. Don't run into a storm without knowing you can make it back. Keep your water clean, even if it means boiling snow until your lungs ache from the smoke. Don't trust laughter in the distance. It isn't joy anymore, it's bait. I ration fuel like I ration hope. Carefully, never too much at once. I pedal, the generator in bursts, enough to send these words into the dark. Then I stop, rest, save my strength. I've learned to sleep in layers, wrapping plastic around my bedroll to trap the little warmth my body still makes. I've learned to eat slow, to chew each bite until it feels bigger than it is, to trick my stomach into believing I've fed it more. But every day, survival costs more than it did the day before. And every day, I wonder when the bill comes due. The frost creeps further, supplies thin, people grow crueler. And me? I'm still here, still pedaling, still speaking into the static. But the crisis isn't coming. It's here. It's been here, and it isn't leaving. So if you're listening, know this. The world is no longer what it was. The crisis isn't something to survive until it passes. It's the air we breathe. Now, the ice under our feet, the silence between us. It's permanent, it's patient, and it's winning. The air burns when it moves, and it suffocates when it stands still. Dust clings to my tongue like it's trying to choke the words out of me before I can even speak them. I keep the mic close, the static hissing between every pause, every drag of breath. It's late. I don't know who's listening anymore. Maybe no one. But I'll keep talking, because silence, in this world, feels heavier than any truth I can put into words. We're running out, not in some distant, theoretical way. They warned us about this kind of running out for decades, said it would happen, but no one thought it would be this fast, this final. The stores of water are down to a trickle. The big metal drums we filled months ago are hollow now. Their echoes mocking us every time we tap on them, just to double check, just to hope. Food, what we thought would last, is gone. Rice turns into dust faster in this heat. Cans swell, pop, spoil. Even fuel, the last lifeline for keeping the generator humming, is all but gone. We ration it, waiting for moments when we need the radio most. Like tonight, like now. The people around me, what's left of them, they're tired. Not just body tired, soul tired. The kind of tired that makes you sit down on cracked earth, stare at the horizon, and stop caring if tomorrow comes. Every day, survival feels heavier, like dragging a stone up a hill only for it to roll back down when the night wind cuts the temperature in half. And every morning, when the red sun claws its way over the horizon, we're back at it again. Chow, last time we saw strangers, it wasn't good. They came riding the highway like ghosts, trucks belching black smoke, guns slung over their shoulders like casual accessories. Raiders, survivalists. Call them what you want. They're just men stripped of anything human, holding on to the last scraps of power in a world where power means a gun and a gallon of gasoline. They found a settlement a few miles east of here. We heard the shots first, then the screams. We didn't go. We couldn't. All we could do was listen, the sound carried by the dry wind, burning its way into our ears. When it was over, smoke rose against the copper sky, and the night smelled like charred wood and blood. I keep telling myself we're too small, too hidden, too insignificant for them to notice. But raiders don't need reasons anymore. They don't care about alliances, or mercy, or even fairness. They take because they can. And every night, I hear engines in the distance, growing closer. Or maybe that's just my mind eating itself, alive with fear. But there's something else. Something I can't shake. A voice on another frequency, faint and broken, whispering through the static. I caught it 2 nights ago, thought it was interference, but then it came again last night. Words like fragments of a dream, north, water, sanctuary. It's impossible. Or maybe it isn't, because people cling to rumors in a world like this, and maybe rumors are the last kind of hope we've got. The story goes like this. Somewhere north, past the salt plains, there's a reservoir untouched by drought. They say there's a working filtration system, that someone out there found a way to keep the pumps alive when the rest of the world's machinery died. Too good to be true? Of course. But so is the idea of still being alive after everything. And yet here I am. The question is, do I chase it? Do I lead the people here into another wild goose chase, another cruel joke wrapped up in static and false promise? Or do I stay, dig deeper into the earth, scratch out what little we can from a land that doesn't want us anymore? Every eye around the fire looks at me when the rumor comes up. They don't say it, but I know what they're thinking. You decide. Trust has become the rarest currency. Nobody gives it freely anymore. If someone hands you a piece of bread, you wonder what poison might be in it. If someone tells you a direction, you wonder if it's a trap. I've seen whole groups torn apart because someone believed the wrong story. I've seen people walk north and never come back. South too. East, west. It doesn't matter. The land swallows them. The storms chew them up. Or raiders finish what nature started. And yet, despite all that, I can feel something gnawing in me. A question I can't silence. What if this time it's real? What if there is water? What if there's a place where the wind doesn't sting? Where the sky doesn't hang like a furnace over your head? What if there's more than just waiting to die here? The environment itself feels alive now, like it's conspiring against us. The storms are worse than ever. They rise out of nowhere, walls of dust miles high, swallowing everything in their path. Last week, one came through at dusk. We barely had time to cover our mouths, to press ourselves flat against the ground. It roared like an ocean, the sand, scraping our skin raw, choking our lungs. When it cleared, the crops, what pitiful rows of maize we'd been nursing, were buried. The soil itself is poisoned now, stripped of anything green. What grows here grows bitter, twisted, brittle. Scientists used to call this desertification. Nice, clean word for a death sentence. They said once the soil loses its grip on water, it stops being land and turns into wasteland. That's what we live in now. The husk of a planet that can no longer hold us. The air burns in the day, freezes at night. Birds don't come here anymore. Animals vanish, bones bleaching under the sun. Even insects struggle to exist. The silence between storms is worse than the noise. I don't know how long we can last. I don't know if anyone out there is hearing this, or if I'm just speaking into a void. But if you are listening, take this as both a warning and a record. We are running out. The crisis isn't far away, in some newspaper headline or distant country. It's here. It's in the dry cracks on your lips, in the brittle grass that used to be wheat, in the heat that makes your bones feel like they're smoldering inside your skin. Survival gets harder every single day because the earth is not recovering. It's not bouncing back. We're past that line. This is the new normal, and the new normal is death dressed as sunlight and silence. So, what do I do? Stay and die slowly, or move and die quickly? Trust the rumor, or call it another trick of the static? Every night I tell myself I won't bring it up again, won't give people false hope. But then I look around and see their hollow eyes, see the way they cling to the last drops of water, and I realize that hope, real or fake, is the only thing. Keeping them upright, maybe I owe them that. Maybe I owe myself that. The air tonight is dry enough to peel skin. The wind carries whispers I can't tell are real or imagined. Maybe they're voices. Maybe it's just the ghosts of all the water that used to fall here, mocking us from somewhere above the clouds. But still, I keep listening for that signal. North, water, sanctuary. Even if it's just a lie, I need to believe in it. Because the alternative, the silence, the waiting, the endless watching of the sky, feels worse than death. So if you hear me, if you're out there, if the rumor is true, send a sign, because my people are running out, and I don't know how much longer we can keep dragging our stones up this hill before we finally let them roll back down for good. You're listening to the radio, and I don't know if this will be the last time you hear my voice. The air is trembling tonight. Not just with the sound of the wind, but with something deeper, heavier, like the land itself is groaning under its own collapse. I can feel it in my bones. The way the floor shudders, the way the horizon keeps flickering, as if the world's lights are finally burning out one by one. For days, I've been walking, scraping together the last of my food, the last of my water. My canteen is empty, except for a few drops that taste like rust. My stomach stopped growling a while ago. Hunger fades into a dull, steady ache. But thirst, it eats you alive. My lips split when I try to speak. My throat feels like sandpaper every time I swallow. And yet, the rumour, that damn rumour, won't leave me. They say there's a spring. Not just a trickle in the dirt, not just poisoned runoff, but a real spring. Clear water, safe water, flowing from some crack in the northern cliffs. People whisper it like a prayer, like salvation carved itself out of stone for the last of us. I don't know if I believe it. I don't know if I have the strength to find out. But belief doesn't need proof. It just needs desperation. The storm hit last night. A wall of dust so thick it turned the stars into nothing. I pulled a tarp over myself, curled up in the skeleton of a gas station, and prayed my lungs wouldn't give out. When I woke up this morning, half the building had collapsed. Sand and grit had piled up against the windows, burying what was left of the shelves. That's when I saw them. Tracks, boot prints, fresh, not mine, not animals either. Too wide, too deep, too many. Raiders maybe, or worse. I thought about turning, back, hiding, waiting them out, but the tracks, they were headed north. Same direction as me, toward the cliffs, toward the water. I'm not the only one who heard the story. The land is crueler the further I go. The ground cracks open in jagged scars, steaming with fumes from beneath. Pits where rain once gathered are bone dry, and where water still exists. It smells like acid and burns the skin. My boots are falling apart, the soles eaten away by the terrain. Each step is agony, but stopping means death. The sun is just a smudge in the sky, filtered through the haze. The air tastes metallic. Every breath is a reminder that my body is running out of time. And then, just as the cliffs begin to rise before me, I see them. Figures, a group of 5, maybe 6, moving slow, cautious, armed. I duck behind the remains of a rusted truck and watch. They're carrying makeshift spears. One has a shotgun strapped across his back. Their faces are wrapped in rags to keep out the dust. I can't hear their voices over the wind, but I see the way they gesture toward the rocks, pointing, arguing. They're looking for the spring too. I don't know what scares me more. The idea that they'll find it first, or the idea that it doesn't exist at all. I wait until they move on, deeper into the canyon. When I'm sure they're far enough, I follow, quiet, careful, every nerve in my body on edge. The canyon narrows, walls rising higher, the air cooling slightly as the sun disappears behind stone. For a moment, I almost believe the rumors. It feels different here, alive. But then, gunfire. Sharp, echoing. Screams. I press myself against the rocks, peering around the corner. 2 of the raiders are down, blood painting the dirt. The others are firing wildly into the shadows, but I can't see at who. The sound ricochets off the cliffs, disorienting, maddening. Then I see movement. Another group. Survivors, not raiders. They're defending something. My heart stops. Behind them, just visible through the chaos, is a glimmer, a shimmer of wet stone. Water. It's real. The fight is brutal, short, merciless. The raiders are too desperate, too reckless. The defenders, this hidden group, they know the terrain. One by one, the raiders fall. When the last one collapses, silence fills the canyon again, broken only by the ragged breaths of the survivors. I don't move. Not yet. I just stare at the water, a trickle at first, running down the cliff face into a shallow pool. Clear, pure, the most beautiful thing I've seen since the world ended. Tears burn my eyes, but I don't wipe them away. I don't even have the strength. This is it. The turning point. The choice. Do I step out? Do I reveal myself? Or do I keep hiding, waiting until they leave so I can drink alone? I think about the people I've lost, about the broadcasts I've made, sending my voice into the dark like a flare, about every desperate soul who might still be listening. Hope is dangerous, but maybe it's the only thing that's kept me alive this long. I push myself out from behind the rocks. My legs are trembling, my body weak, but I raise my hands in the air. Don't shoot, I croak. My voice is barely audible, shredded by thirst. I just want to drink. They see me. Weapons raise instinctively. For a moment I think it's over. That I'll die here, feet away from salvation. Then one of them, a woman, her face sunburned and scarred, lowers her rifle. She studies me, weighing life against death, trust against fear. Finally, she nods. Come forward, she says. I stumble, nearly fall, but somehow I make it. When I reach the pool, I drop to my knees. The first sip is fire. Painful. My body almost rejects it, too shocked to believe it's real. But then, it floods me. Cold, clean, alive. I drink until I can't anymore, until the ache in my chest is replaced with something else. Something like hope. But this is not the end. Because as I kneel there, surrounded by strangers, I realize the hardest choice isn't finding the water, it's deciding what comes next. Do I tell the world? Do I broadcast this miracle, share it with whoever's left out there? Or do I stay silent, keep it hidden, protect it from the hordes that would descend? And destroy it? The spring could save us, or it could doom us all. And I'm the one holding the microphone. You're still listening to the radio. And maybe, just maybe, you're hearing hope instead of static. But the question is, what would you do if you were me? The storm has passed. At least, I think it has. Out here, silence can be more terrifying than the roar of thunder or the crack of splintering earth. When the toxic winds tore across the valley, I thought it was the end. The sky turned into a living wound, bleeding ash and chemical rain, and every instinct told me to run. But where? You can't outrun the sky. You can't outpace the air itself. I sealed myself in the bunker beneath the old broadcast tower. Rusted steel, broken locks, more of a coffin than a shelter. I thought I would suffocate down there, or that the storm would peel the earth open and swallow me whole. It didn't. At least not yet. Now, I climb back up the narrow stairwell, each rung cold and damp with condensation. The hatch groans when I push it open, metal shrieking like some wounded thing. The world greets me with a stillness that feels wrong, like the silence after a scream. The air is heavy, metallic, laced with the scent of burnt ozone. Ash drifts like snow, but it carries no beauty, just the reminder of what was lost. I walk out into it anyway, because what else is there to do? The valley looks different now. Where trees once clung stubbornly to cracked soil, only skeletal branches remain, bent and blackened, their bark sloughed away by the storm's acidic touch. The horizon is flat, smudged, as though someone erased the edges of the earth with a dirty thumb. I keep my radio close. It's cracked, battered. The antenna, bent at an awkward angle, but it still hums softly when I press the switch. Static rushes like an ocean that no longer exists. I whisper into the receiver, voice hoarse. This is Station Echo. If anyone's still out there, the storm has passed. I repeat, the storm has passed. I'm alive. For now. The static doesn't. Answer. It never does. When I left the tower before the storm, I carried hope in my chest like a fragile ember. The rumors of a reservoir, untouched, underground, sealed away, pulled me north. But the storm cut me off, swallowed the path, buried roads beneath sludge and debris. The map I carried feels useless now. Landmarks erased, rivers gone. All I can do is walk. Step after step, through the wreckage, through the silence. And as I walk, I think about choice, about survival, about the moment when I could have stayed hidden underground and waited until the poison winds burned themselves out. But hiding is just a slower kind of death. So I came back up. I always come back up. The world after the storm is stranger than before. Pockets of life hang on, but they're twisted. I pass a patch of grass, vibrant green, too bright, as though it's feeding on something unnatural beneath the soil. I see a crow picking through debris, its feathers singed, its eyes glowing, faintly in the dim light. It stares at me for too long before flapping away. Maybe I'm imagining it. Maybe not. The storm didn't just strip the land, it changed it. And me. It changed me too. Hours blur into one another. Hunger gnaws, thirst claws. My water is nearly gone, reduced to a few sips swirling at the bottom of a canteen. Every step forward is a gamble, but then a sound. Not the hiss of wind or the creak of shifting wreckage. A human sound. A cough, dry and hacking, carried faintly across the ruined plain. I freeze, my heart slamming in my chest. It's been weeks since I last heard another voice. Weeks since I last looked into someone's eyes and saw recognition instead of empty hunger. I follow it. Through the debris, over shattered asphalt, toward the skeletal remains of an old schoolhouse. The windows are gone, the walls half collapsed, but inside, huddled against a broken chalkboard, is a figure. They look up when I enter, eyes sunken, lips cracked. Alive. We don't speak at first. Words feel too fragile, too easily broken. Instead, I offer them a sip from my canteen. They hesitate, then drink, careful, reverent, as though it's holy water. Finally, a whisper. Thought I was the last. I shake my head. You're not. The aftermath isn't just ash and silence. It's connection. Fragile, improbable, but real. We sit together as night creeps in. The sky is bruised purple, streaked with faint auroras that shouldn't be there, shimmering in colors that don't belong. The storm has rewritten the heavens. The stranger, her name is Mara, tells me she survived by hiding in the school's basement. She thought the walls would collapse. She thought the storm would seep through concrete and turn her lungs to dust. But she made it, just like me. We are scars on a dying world. But scars mean healing, don't they? As dawn edges in, I reflect. The world hasn't healed. If anything, it's weaker now, gasping. Each storm another nail in its coffin. But within that weakness, something stirs. Not hope exactly. Not yet. Maybe it's resolve. The storm proved something. Survival isn't luck. It's choice. To walk. Out of the bunker. To keep searching. To keep speaking into the static. Even when no one answers. I tell Mara about the reservoir. About the rumors of water sealed away underground. Her eyes light up. Not with certainty, but with the faint flicker of maybe. That's enough. Together we plan. Together we move. When I switch the radio on again, I don't just broadcast into the void. I let Mara's voice echo too. This is Station Echo. If anyone can hear us, we're still here. The storm didn't take everything. We're moving north. If you can walk, if you can find us, do it. You're not alone. The static hums back. And for the first time, it doesn't sound empty. The storm stripped the land bare. It killed. It scarred. It reshaped. But in the ruins, I found something the storm couldn't erase. Another heartbeat. Another voice. Another reason to keep walking. Do, I believe we'll find the reservoir? I don't know. Do I believe the world can heal after everything it's endured? I don't know that either. But I know this. When the dust clears, when the silence settles, survival isn't about waiting for the world to fix itself. It's about deciding to keep breathing, to keep searching, to keep speaking into the void. Even when it never answers back, I am not the same person who went into that storm. I'm heavier now, worn but also sharper. I understand what it means to endure. The ash still falls, the rivers are still cracked, the sky is still broken, but we're walking, step after step, breath after breath, and as long as there's one more voice beside me, one more hand to help carry the weight, I'll keep going. Because maybe, just maybe, that's how the world begins again. The radio crackles softly as I lean back against the cold steel of the old transmitter. My voice feels worn out, like it's been dragged across miles of broken glass. Maybe it has. Maybe we all have. It's quiet tonight. Too quiet. The wind has gone still. The sky hangs heavy like a black curtain. And somewhere out there, the ruins of the old world are holding their breath. Maybe waiting. Maybe grieving. I think back on everything. The storms, the hunger, the shadows that crawled through the forests, the faces I met along the way. Some I lost too soon, some I left behind. But here I am, still talking, still alive. That counts for something, doesn't it? The truth is, survival isn't a victory. It's just a choice we keep making every day. A heavy one. Some days I want to lay it down, let the weight crush me, disappear into the silence. But then I find something small, a reason, a spark. Like the sprout I saw yesterday, fighting its way through the cracks of dry soil. Just one stubborn green shoot. The world tried to bury it in dust and ash, but it pushed through anyway. That's what hope looks like now. Thin, fragile, but unbreakable if you hold on tight enough. I don't know if tomorrow will be kinder. I don't know if the storms will ease, or if the monsters will fade, or if humanity has one more chance left. But I know this. I'll be here, breathing, watching, waiting. And if you're out there, listening, then you'll be here too. This world isn't going to fix itself overnight. Maybe it never will. But we still have fire in our bones, and as long as that fire burns, the dark can't fully win. So keep going, keep walking, even when the road looks endless. Keep breathing, even when the air tastes like smoke. Keep holding on, even when everything else is slipping away. Because if we don't, then it's over. And I don't want it to be over. Not yet. Not tonight. The truth, I'm afraid. Afraid of what's waiting beyond tomorrow. Afraid of what I'll lose next. Afraid that all of this, the broadcasts, the scavenging, the endless nights, is just prolonging the inevitable. But fear is proof that we still care, that there's still something left to lose. And where there's something to lose, there's something worth protecting. Maybe that's the message I've been trying to send all along. Not that things will get better. Not that there's a happy ending waiting for us if we just hold out long enough. But that while we're still here, breathing and hurting and fighting, we matter. So here's my final word for tonight. Don't stop. Don't stop searching for food. Don't stop searching for shelter. Don't stop searching for each other. Don't stop believing that the world can heal, even if it doesn't look like it now. The sun may not rise tomorrow, but even if all we see is darkness, we can still light our own fires, small ones, fragile ones, enough to warm our hands, enough to remind us we're still human. I'll keep this transmitter running as long as I can. Maybe tomorrow I'll find more batteries. Maybe I won't. Either way, if you're out there, keep your dial steady. I'll be waiting. The world might be gone, but we're still here. And as long as we're breathing, we've got a chance. So take this message, carry it with you into the silence. Stay alive. Stay human. Keep the fire burning. Because hope, no matter how small, is still hope. And sometimes, that's enough. The SAM broadcast fades, replaced by the low hum of static. Outside, the night holds its breath, and somewhere, far away, the faintest green shoots push through the soil.